the coronavirus that really hit us from last year, right? So it really, it was an eye opener to me, specific. I mean, especially in the technology field, the way in the speed at which we are moving forward, the amount of artificial intelligence that we are trying to gather and maintain these machines, do all the work, and at this state, the fundamental thing that we forgot in the process was, is the human life benefiting from all this, right? That's really was the question to me. And it has been a struggle trying to understand what is it that we are really striving for. Are we striving for advancing the human mind to do something, or is it advancing the soul to get to a better state, or are we just building comforts around us, right? Where I just don't have to remember what day it is. I have to just call Alexa and say what day it is, and it will tell you Tuesday, whatever, or Saturday, Friday, whatever, right? So these are the things. So how did I overcome this thing? So personally, in my capacity, I was struggling with the anxiety thing, like, okay, something's going to happen to me. I'm going to be in trouble, or folks around, and hearing all this news literally made me feel very sad about the whole process. I mean, so many deaths, unnecessary deaths, right? I mean, what this is this is not a natural calamity. I understand if it's natural calamities, this is something that you can't stop. But could this be stopped? The answer is yes, right? We could have stopped it, but we just failed as a human race to stop it, right? So how did I overcome this thing? So I went back to my basic root of what I learned as a kid, which is trying to understand the consciousness. I mean, trying to explore the consciousness I have and trying to make sure that I can harness my potential within that. So I want to bring the attention to one of the movements that I have been closely involved with, and which was not foreign to United States. It has come a long time back. Is the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, which I have been a member from '95. I had the fortune of associating with some wonderful people. So what did that movement? I mean, so I went back and started reading the books, trying to understand what it is that I am really looking forward to. Right? I mean, I'm struggling through this phase of uh, the health issues, people suffering around me, the injustices happening, persecution, all this stuff. So I started going back and looking at what the core teachings that gave me the strength as a kid growing up. And I thought, because I forgot, I wanted to go back and really revisit them again, or in the sense I didn't forget, but other things overcame, were overcoming in between, right? So I just want to quickly give a few points about why this movement or this method helped me, because there is a connection which I will make at the end. So the Society of Krishna Consciousness, popularly known as the Hare Krishna movement, it started in 1966 by Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and basically it is a culture that was brought in where you chant certain 16 words, and then you continue to chant it in such a spiritual way that your mind goes into a rhythm, and where you're now free of all the negative thoughts that are coming into your mind, right? That is the fundamental that is a fundamental of what the spiritual movement was all about. So the aim of this particular teaching is basically to acquaint all the people in the world with the universal principles of self-realization, the consciousness of God, and deriving the highest benefit of spiritual understanding, right? So that's the most important thing. And what does it eventually lead to is unity and peace that we are all striving for, right? The word a day, a good, a great day comes into our mind if we can say that there is no persecution at all, right? I mean, I hope we can hear that in some lifetime, in a few lifetimes, but I hope that happens. So one of the things that is core to the teachings that I just wanted to say, which really helped me get back on the track for me, is that the eternal spirit, which is a part and parcel of me, it's essentially the spirit is staying in me as a temporary body, but I am much bigger than that, right? The spirit is much bigger than that. You are trying to struggle about the worldly problems around you and not ignoring them, but certainly you're creating these problems for yourself. One of the things is we created the problem called corona for ourselves, and then we're dealing with it. So the first fundamental question is, why are you even creating the problem to start with? Because The reason is it is either somebody is benefiting, or somebody wants to take revenge on somebody, or is it that you just want to experiment on something that is completely against nature, and you're creating these problems, right? So this self-realization thing, if people can cultivate that habit, it resolves the problem of having to deal into complexities of trying to exploit nature. So what happens when you exploit nature is all these big problems that we're talking about, right? Anything to do with the diseases is complete exploitation of the nature, where you're trying to derive something that is not yours. You're trying to exploit something. The other most important thing is the pure consciousness which you're trying to achieve is for permanent happiness, right? That is what, and you're not in for these temporary things. And the other important stuff that we always talk about is being able to have self-realization, where your anxiety is less, you come to a pure state of bliss, enlightenment, and if you can achieve this in your lifetime through the chanting, that is what would be helpful. So it takes away all the negative thoughts in your mind. So that was one of the things. So I want to pause there for a minute, and then I'll tell you how it changed, how that changed my life, or at least after this Corona thing. So it helped me realize that what I am facing around me is a temporary, transient time, which I have to overcome through realization and my self-consciousness. So this is one of the things that I have learned through the process. And the movement always tells you that you have to treat people. The movement basically says you are looking at a person not from the origin, not from where they came from, what practices they do, but it's a soul to soul connection that you're trying to make. And when you do that, the advantage is that's a deep connection. You're not looking at the caste, creed, color, or the skin color or anything of that sort, but you're basically making a deeper connection, right? So this will avoid all these kinds of persecutions that we are talking about. So that's really what I wanted to convey, is to have all people come together and realize this self-consciousness, and look at things in a more in a more deeper way, not from a more artificial or the outside is what you're looking at. What I have been following is a bhakti yoga part of it, where I'm spiritualizing all my human activities, ensuring that I take more yoga sessions every day, and I'm ensuring that I'm able to get away from this negative thoughts, right? So that's the way I'm trying to avoid all these things. I will conclude by saying that while we would like to have persecution go away, but I think the fundamental problem that I see lies within this is what you teach is what you're going to reap at the end of the day, right? So if your book tells you that I'm the only supreme truth and everybody else can go to hell, you can't expect that kind of a teaching to come into the outside world and say, I'm going to treat everybody equally, because that's not going to happen, right? Because you don't realize people from the consciousness side of it, right? Because you're now saying that because you don't believe that, the point is, if you're teaching your kid 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 at home, and you expect that person to go out and become a mathematician or an accountant, that is not going to happen for you. Your fundamental thing is what you teach is what you're making a person out of, right? So either we all I mean, I understand this interfaith dialogues are extremely important, but if we are truthful to ourselves, which I'm willing to do, that is, take the teachings that we have and eliminate things that teach hate among people, right? If you can do that, or if we as a group can do that, that probably is a fundamental first step towards achieving what we call as the equal path towards gaining, coming forward in one step. So can we, I mean, is that possible? I don't know. It's very easy to do it in the Hinduism faith or the Krishna consciousness, because it's not what we believe in is what is important. It's basically your self-consciousness, and your realization is what makes you realize all the things, right? Or get to understand all the things. But are we willing to do that in such a way that the books that we all have, are we willing to at least not propagate this kind of teachings where it divides people? And if that can be done, and it will be a first step. So I'll conclude this one part by saying that I personally, I was never comfortable with the word called tolerance, right? I think tolerance doesn't cut it. It's absolutely nowhere close to what I've been thinking, or what my faith taught me all this time. Hinduism and ISKCON, for example. Mutual respect if we are willing to accept that part as a new word in place of tolerance, that solves a majority of the indifferences that we are talking about. So why mutual respect and tolerance? I'll give you a small example. You come from work, you have a lot of busy stuff happening, pre-corona days example. You go and meet your family, extended family, and your family tells you that, hey, I'm tolerant that you came here and attended this party, right? That's one word. So remember that. And then you have the second conversation where they say, I have mutual respect that you came all the way here to come and attend this particular thing and then spending time with us. So that difference, if we can understand, is an important step forward. So it's a question of everybody, all faiths, agreeing to use the word mutual respect in place of this Abrahamic constructs of tolerance and all that. I simply think those words don't cut it. They will never. If you use those words, you are not establishing the path that you want, which is equality among people and all these things that you're talking about. So I'll conclude by saying that it's important to understand what we are dealing with in the current world and put all our differences aside and work towards a common goal for a better humanity. So I request everyone to do their part in advancing this particular. So namaste. Thank you all.